David Lopez is the general manager of the famous Manny's Mexican restaurant in the heart of Kansas City's Crossroads district. His parents, Manny and Vivian Lopez, were both pillars in building Kansas City to the greatness it is today. David is a board member of Visit KC and the Greater Restaurant Association. He is creating his own legacy and leaving his mark on our great city every day. This is Enterrupt KC. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome to Enterrupt KC, the podcast we dedicate to people, places, and things in Kansas City.
Yes, sir.
I'm D-Rod. This is my man, JL.
What's going on, D-Rod?
Oh, man, just happy to be in this seat, man. I got some good news for you, man. Something that came across, man.
You got good news for me?
Well, I guess it's probably for both of us, man. We got a little gift, man. We had somebody came and presented it. She was real modest about it, man. She didn't want to. I asked her if I can give her a shout out.
Yeah.
She said no.
I'm nervous because, I don't like gifts. I don't like surprises. So I'm a little nervous what you're about to do here on camera.
It's actually pretty cool, man. It's real cool. But one thing she did say was that she would love to be a guest. So here, I seen it, but I'm going to let you open this,
You're
man.
You're going to let me open it?
Yeah,
okay.
Because I already seen it, man. She kind of made me open it, man.
She would love to be a guest.
She put the colors on there and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Let me see. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what she's involved in, but
nice.
Since
one for each state.
Yeah, that's what she said, man. She said I live in Missouri, and since we talk about Kansas and Missouri, we got some license plates,
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to scoot this over, man.
Yeah, man.
Is that what you're? Okay.
That's what I was feeling, It's kind of like that, But
yeah.
So
I get you, man.
Anyways,
well, hey, whoever this is from,
yeah,
thank you.
Well, I'll tell you when we're not recording.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. She said she just didn't want her name out there.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enterrupt KC, Kansas, Missouri. That's what we're all about. Kansas City.
Yes, sir.
State line.
Yes. So here we go, man.
Well, listen.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the gift. But it is time to interrupt our guest today, man.
Oh, yeah.
And by interrupt, we mean introduce our guest. And I think, honestly, from us at Enterrupt KC, this is one of the greatest honors we've had
to
be
good one.
here with the one, the only Mr. David Lopez, man. How we doing, Mr. Lopez?
That's very kind of you guys. I'm doing good. It's a Monday, right? We're doing what we need to do on a Monday, first day of the week. We're closed here at the shop, so it's kind of a nice day for me to get in the office where it's quiet.
Yeah.
I can do what I need to do, take care of some things, make some choices,
right.
and just enjoy the day. So I'm proud to be here.
Yeah.
Proud to be here with you, gentlemen. I'm looking forward to today.
And tell the city, man, where are we? Where are we right now?
We're at Manny's Restaurant, 207 Southwest Boulevard.
Yes, sir.
Home of the Crispy Taco.
Home of the Crispy
right?
Taco.
Crispy Taco, yeah.
44 years since September 18th, 1980.
Wow.
So
how many years?
44 years.
44 years.
So
man.
I turned 45 this year in February.
Okay.
And so I was born in 79 and Manny's was opened in 1980. So that's kind of always a way for me to kind of track it a little bit. So generations of Lopez's, generations of wonderful people walking through our doors.
A lot of people, man.
We're blessed. We are blessed.
People. And I'm one of them, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much.
Many times.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You know what's crazy is I was sitting here and I knew this was coming up, David. So first of all, shout out, thank you for being here with us
It's
today.
my
Thank
pleasure.
you for taking the time,
Thank you
man.
for taking the time.
Absolutely my pleasure.
But when I was doing this research, and I came to the restaurant and ate because I was like, okay, I need to come experience Manny's before we do this episode.
Before we have them on, right?
Great experience. First thing I realized when I sat down is the placemat said 1980, and here's my automatic thought, David. I said there are two things. In 1980, Kansas City, two things happened that escalated the greatness of Kansas City. One, yours truly was born.
There you
I'm
go.
sorry.
There you go. That's all right.
Or maybe,
That's okay.
or maybe two. I'm not,
Self-love is good love.
Or maybe two.
Yeah.
One though, the second is Manny's Restaurant.
Manny's Restaurant, man.
It's
Manny's
awesome.
Restaurant was born. So, man, for those that don't know, David,
don't know Manny's.
Yeah,
you know?
don't know Manny.
Sure.
Don't know your
big
father.
city, man.
Talk about that, man. What is the history of this restaurant?
So, Manny Lopez from Argentine, Kansas, what a lot of people don't realize about my father was that, he was working in Santa Fe. He was a railroad worker.
Oh, railroad. He was a railroader.
And he was a welder, and that's what he did. And he got really, really injured badly in a really bad accident. He almost lost his life. Got caught between two boxcars. It was terrible. And his brother, who was a priest, Father Joe Lopez, who a lot of people know from Ascension and throughout the Kansas Archdiocese, who we lost, about 15, 16 years ago, read him his last rites. It was a terrible, terrible situation. My father wasn't sure if he was going to live or die.
Right.
And it was tough. But being who he is and what he's made of, he fell in love with the restaurant industry. He worked at the Muehlbach with his father. He was a toast boy.
The hotel?
The hotel. He was a toast boy, which they called, pretty much a bus boy, taking care of people, doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
And, the original Joe Lopez, that was my grandfather.
Yes, sir.
And a very, very tough man, but, he did the best that he could, as we all do when we have our beautiful children that we're blessed with.
Yes, sir.
And my father was, kind of worked his way through the ranks, and next thing you know, he is the general manager of Reagan's Riverboat in Westport. Wow. And that was a very, very popular place in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. And it was unbelievable how my father, I wouldn't say so late in life, but it was 40s, late 30s.
Our age now.
Right? You're thinking you're established. You're thinking that you're doing what you're doing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But my father just had enough courage and enough belief in himself.
That passion.
He just knew it. He just knew that there was something else for him. And Ron Reagan, who is a wonderful man, and the Reagan family, who was so influential and helpful to my father and my mother. Outside of my father's children being born, Vivian Lopez, who was my father's second wife and my mother, was the absolute greatest thing that ever happened to my father. And he met her while he was running Westport One. And she was a very serious individual. And she didn't play games like Manny Lopez liked to play games, right? Like all of us tend to think, all of us tend to think we're a little smooth, right? All of us tend to think we're pretty slick. She didn't fall for that.
Yeah,
and
she was one step ahead of all that.
My old man would always tell me, he goes, it wasn't even a question. Yeah. I was so in love with your mother, and the only thing that held me back was I was just so afraid. I was scared. Wow. He had he was married once. They were very, very young, and things just didn't work out as they tend to do sometimes. Yeah. My four sisters, who all four have worked here, one of them still does, and it was just this very fearful, difficult thing, and it ended up being just this beautiful moment for my father that catapulted him for the rest of his life. My mother was an English teacher at Westport High School. She was extremely intelligent, very smart, very tough. She still comes in here 4 times a week, and she's still doing what she needs to do. And so my father got a loan, 25% interest rate, which is, we all know why that is, because his last name ended with a Z.
Yes.
And my father goes and picks up my mother from school. There's a lunch break. And he's so excited, right? He's like, Viv, I found the building. I know what we're going to do. And so he puts a blindfold on her, drives her down. They park literally right in front here of the restaurant.
Yeah. Right.
And he gets her out, takes her around, right? Takes the bandana off of her eyes. And she looks at the restaurant. She goes, oh, my God. Wow. Manny, no. This is the building that you bought. She was in tears.
What it looked like?
Well, I mean, people don't realize, right, the history of this area.
Oh yeah, man.
This wasn't the Crossroads. This wasn't always the Crossroads, right? There's rundown buildings, dilapidated.
It was the you don't cross those roads.
You don't. That's boom. That was bingo. That's perfect. Roads. And it was really difficult. And this building, which has a ton of history in it in Kansas City, 1918 was when this building was built. Okay. And so my mom was in tears. She just couldn't believe it. Yeah. And when my mom tells the story, she'll tell you, she goes, I looked over at your father. Mm-hmm. He had his hands on his hips, and he was in this white leisure suit with a black shirt, black tie. Yeah. Nobody, and I cannot emphasize this enough, nobody dressed like Manny Lopez did. always looking sharp, always looked like $1 million. He was the man.
Yeah.
Everybody who we think, we all think we're somebody. We all think that we're that person. Right. Yeah. My father actually was that person. Right. Sure. And I'm so proud of that.
Yeah.
And she said she looked at his face and the smile on his face. Yeah. She said there was almost a light coming from him because that's the gift that my father had. Yeah. He could see it.
Right.
It was that vision he had.
He could see it.
I mean, no matter what it looked like, he saw it right there.
He did, and he never took anything for granted because he grew up hard.
Right.
He grew up with nothing.
So you said he was from Argentine, Kansas City, Kansas?
Yes, Argentine, Kansas. Yeah, right down there. And that part of my family, I wish we were a little bit more involved with as I was growing up, but my grandparents were a little older. Everybody was a little bit older, and we were, my mother and father were building an empire.
Right.
Yeah. Right. They were doing what they needed to do, and they were doing
focused.
what they felt was best for not just for me, but for my children that they couldn't even see yet. Right. And for my father's daughters and for the generations of our families. Because of the courage of Manny and Vivian Lopez, we've got nieces and nephews, grandchildren going to Bishop Miege, going to college, changing the perspective of maybe generational handcuffs that unfortunately the people in our community have to deal with on a daily basis.
That's right.
And it's extremely difficult. And it's awful hard right now with the way the world turns to have courage like Manny and Vivian Lopez did. Right? And that's something that I think that's one of the most proudest things that I carry. We do what we do and we do it well. These are my grandma and my grandpa's recipes. My grandma and my grandpa and my Aunt Mary Lou were the first chefs in this restaurant. Rafa Guzman, who's our chef now, worked when he was 16 years old, and he learned from my grandma and my grandpa. He took care of my Aunt Mary Lou. He loved her like a mother, and he learned. And
so are the recipes of the restaurant, is that your mom, who?
That's my dad's side of the family.
Okay.
So see now I was bigger than my father when I was about 5th grade, 6th grade, because my mother's Swedish Irish blood. So because her maiden name is Lundgren. Okay. Right, we're the only ones cheering for Drago and Rocky IV.
Oh man!
No, I'm kidding.
How could you? How could you?
You outweigh him by 100 pounds to hit him.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah.
Oh man, rest in peace, Apollo Creed, right?
I know, man.
Gosh, right?
Rest in peace.
That guy,
happened,
man. Growing up with that guy, I mean, we're all similar ages. I mean, gosh. I mean,
Predator,
Rocky, all the Rocky
Jackson,
movies.
right?
Action Jackson was fantastic.
He was in a couple comedies too.
Happy Gilmore was fantastic, right? He was really good in that.
Yeah, he was.
And it's just I don't know. I don't know why I pinged that.
That was a tangent.
That's okay. We strung off, but
we do it.
How big is the family though, David? Like your immediate family, your mom, your mother, and your father's children, and I know there's probably some other children.
Yeah.
In there.
So it's. Like I said, my father was married twice, and with his first marriage, he had 4 beautiful daughters.
Okay.
All 4 have put their chapter into the Manny's legacy, the book.
Nice.
Renee, my sister Renee, was the original one here, and she worked side by side with my father and my mother from the very beginning.
Nice.
She's now retired and doing wonderful work in Western Kansas and helping at an addiction house and just doing so much to give back. She's in a good place. She's earned the right?
Good,
she worked really hard.
Good for her.
My sister Debbie Lopez, who we lost unfortunately to breast cancer, which was a very, very difficult time for our family. But Debbie was the apex. She was the bridge that allowed Manny and Vivian Lopez, who started to struggle as we got into the 90s, because everything changed. All businesses evolve. Everything changes. Technology, all these different types of things. And Debbie was a rising star for the McDonald's franchise.
Got it.
And she did a really, really good job with a certain family running their McDonald's. McDonai, I don't know how you pluralize that, but I think we know what we're talking about. And she was doing a fantastic job. And my mom and dad said, hey, we could really use your help, and the rest is history. Debbie was just such a wonderful person, super influential in Kansas City, loved helping staff and especially mentoring and guiding young women and helping them to find a better path, helping them to reach their goals, reach their dreams. Debbie was just an amazing human, and we miss her every single day. my sister Kathy, who's recently retired, Kathy played an extremely important role here while Debbie was sick, and unfortunately while Debbie was dying, which it just sounds so strange to say that, but it's the truth. Kathy was keeping this business together, and Kathy was giving so much time and so much effort and so many hours and so much of herself so that we could keep moving forward, and that couldn't be easy. I was actually not working here at the time. I was actually working at U.S. Food Service for almost 2.5 years as a territory manager, and which was a blessing. I learned so much about this industry and this business from the other point of view, on the other side. And Kathy was just unbelievably instrumental. Once again, I talk about the bridge. She was the bridge that got from Debbie, Manny, and Vivian to now me. And my sister Kim, who's the youngest of the 4 girls, she is just fantastic. She does a wonderful HR work for us, marketing. She does a food development research, menu planning, different things like that. So she does a really, really fantastic job for us.
She keeps that puzzle together.
Yeah, she does, and that's a big part of it. And now with and now my children, my children are waiting tables here. My children are learning how to handle people, talk with people, socialize, because that's a big part of it, right? That's sales, how we interact with community, that matters immensely. And all 5 of my children, well, not my youngest yet, they'll get there eventually, but I love the fact that they're coming here and wait tables. That's what a great way to learn, right? About life.
I mean, I was wondering about that. How much more involved. I mean, I know you're heavily involved in the restaurant. The other family members, how much are they involved? So you hit on that. Before we move on, though, man, that's a salute, right, to Manny Lopez, man. I mean, man, salute to Manny Lopez. Seriously.
Lopez,
always and forever.
Salute
to you guys.
So let's talk about your role, David. You're the general manager of the restaurant, yes?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
You're probably a lot of other things, too, but, officially that's your role, right? For those that don't know, man, what does that look like on a daily? What are you doing when this restaurant? I mean, you're here. I know you were talking about there's people coming in doing things when you're closed. So what are you doing?
Yeah, when that alarm turns off, man. What's the 3 things you look for when you get up? Like, man,
I get up every day. I'm in a little bit of a routine right now, which I'm very thankful for and I love. I go to Mass at St. Agnes. I try to go to Mass every day. Yeah. I try to work out every day. I try to have some time for me, which is for all you men out there, especially the men that are our age.
It's important.
You got to find some time for yourself.
Yeah.
We are taught to carry the cross, and we can't do that alone. And we need to take care of ourselves. And I'm a big believer in that. And I give my 13-year-old dog, who I love, shout out to Lola, God, I love you. The only person who's always genuinely enthused to see me, doesn't want money from me. It's unconditional love, man.
That's a dog's love.
It's the best. And so
I need to give me a dog, David.
It's good stuff, man. I'm telling you.
Love.
It's good. It's really good. So, get my kids off to school. Most of the times I'm taking Josh for weights at 6:30 before I go to Mass. He plays football at Miege, and so it's a pretty good routine. Then I get in here. I'll actually probably start doing some work at home where it's kind of quiet, where I can kind of get on my laptop. And I catering, events, private dining. I check those emails. Who can we connect with? Who wants to come and do business with us? Where are we at? I'm checking our daily sales report, making sure all of our numbers are in the correct place. What did we do last night? What happened, right? Where are we at? What does it look like from a day-to-day basis, which is extremely important to me. I'll then try to look and see, right now we've got our sauce in stores. I'm looking to do some different things like that, so I'll work on that a little bit. And we're kind of recreating that kind of a little bit right now. So I'll talk to the people that I need to. I'm honored to serve on Visit KC. Got back on the board again this year.
We'll get on
so
that too.
I'll check those emails. I'll see what I need to do. Check the Restaurant Association with the GKCRA. See if anybody needs anything from me. We've got a good network of restaurateurs here. Sometimes somebody, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that. Can you help me with this? And then I get up, get in my truck, get down here, and count the money, make sure all of our servers are getting paid, seeing where we're at, where are we at this Tuesday as compared to last Tuesday, what are we looking at, how are things making sense, enter everything into QuickBooks.
Make sure everybody's got to show up.
So basically, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you're busy.
It's a busy deal, right? And I love it. I'm blessed, right? I'm blessed to be able to wear the cap that represents being in charge of this unbelievable place, and I take pride in that. And and I care more about. I'm only as good as the people that work for me. Right. We're only as good as how we take care of each other. Yeah. Leaders don't run to get in front of the line; they walk, and they take care of people, and then people just kind of fall behind.
That's nice. That's a good one, man.
How many employees do you have here at Manny's? And here's what's interesting. When I came in here in 8, I saw a waitress walk by, and she was an older Latina, and I'm like, David, I worked at Golden Knox in the 90s.
There you go.
And I'm thinking, she worked there. And I remember why she worked there. Do you remember what happened in the 90s here?
I do. We had the fire
in the
90s, yeah.
The fire.
Yeah.
And I remember when she came down there, we were talking, and she's like, I have to come here for a while because the fire at the restaurant. And I'm like, and she walked by, and I'm thinking, oh, my God. And I told my family, like, I used to work with her, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So. Yeah. But back to the question, man. How many employees does Manny?
So we've probably volley between, I'd say, 55, 60 employees. Okay. Nice. Depending on the season, where we're at, what we're doing. Yeah. We don't have a lot of turnover.
And
I was going to ask you that. Like, which you have? You want to shout out like one that has been here the longest?
Well, we've had so many people, right? We've got Mary Ceresos is my right hand. She's a very good manager for us. Yeah. She's been here for 30 plus years. 30 years. Lorena Alvarez started as a bus girl. Wow. And now Debbie Lopez took her under her wing. My father took care of her. She was barely bilingual when she was busing here, and now she's my ace. Oh. Lorena does a fantastic job for me. Rafa Guzman's been here since the beginning. Yeah. Wow. And Rafa he is the reason why we do what we do. We are so consistent with our food. We're so consistent with our service. Yeah. Jeanette Perez, Lorena Garcia, Victor in the kitchen. Wow. I could go on and on.
Don't name all 50, man.
Maria Davidson, Maria Medina.
Like you can,
we do, and that's
great.
That's what's important, though, right? That man. Is, and you're exactly right. It's like the familia,
like your shirt says there. Man.
That's right. I love it. That's one of my favorite Miege hoodies, and that's the whole deal. I know how many kids these people have. I know how old they are. I know what they need. Yeah. When we went through COVID, and I had to tell them all to get on unemployment, I couldn't even get the sentence out because I was in tears because I felt like I let them down. Right. Yeah, right. And I'm sitting here in this empty restaurant on a Saturday night, 2 weekends after we can't be open, drinking a bottle of Casamigos, feeling sorry for myself. Right. It was a tough time. Right. Yeah. And because, things are going to happen in this industry no matter what. Things happen in life. But when things like that happen and that you can't control, man, that hurts.
Well, that is because so many other lives, you're carrying those on your back. When things like that happen, of course, man, that's going to hurt.
Right.
We work in a wave. We work together, right? Yeah. I'm making the decisions, doing this, making it happen, doing here, doing that. But the people that work for me are the reason why I get to give my children a good life. Yes. They're the reason why I get to live the life that I'm thankful to live. Right. And it's extremely important that they understand that. Right. And my father, if you need $100, keep your lights on, here, take it, go. We wouldn't even miss a blink. Yeah. Because he knew what it was like to not have anything. Right. And he never wanted anybody that worked for him to ever feel that way. And
I was going to ask you that, man. Like, so when you see, growing up, right, seeing your parents, your family invest in this restaurant, that day-to-day grind that you now experience, right? What challenges or what struggles did you see them go through that you're like, that's a lesson learned now? Sure. Did your dad give you some of this verbally, but did you also see it? Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
Growing up, I hated this restaurant. because it took my parents away from me.
Oh yeah, that resentment.
You know, I was alone a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I'm scoring touchdowns, I'm hitting home runs,
Yeah.
and
Nobody
nobody's
there
there.
cheering.
You know, and my grandma, my
You
mother's.
had your girlfriend there, David. Don't lie. Don't lie.
Come on,
David.
man.
Come on.
I don't have time for that. So I tell my kids, hey, you don't have time for all that. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah, that's right.
But
That's
like
right.
my grandma, it was my mother's mom. We called her Frenchie. And we called her the Sarge here at the restaurant. She was tough.
Yeah.
Right. And so she took care of me, and she never let me not have that Bible in my hand. She never let me get away with being lazy. She
Not
was
being
tough
a
on me.
knucklehead or
Yeah,
nothing.
she was tough on me,
Yeah.
right? And she took care of me, and she loved me. And as an adult, I understand now what my
see it.
parents were doing, right?
Right.
But as a kid, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I watched my mom and dad work together, live together, right? Eat together, all of it.
Right.
And everyone always asks me, you know, talk about the success story of Manny's Restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not a success story.
Right.
It's a love story, man.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's a great one.
Because
That's a great one.
two people poured into each other, and they never let each other down. They disappointed one another.
Yeah.
They got angry,
Sure.
and they got mad.
Natural.
You know, I learned from my mother the meaning of unconditional love. The last 10 years of my father's life, probably 10 more than he should have had. She's giving him dialysis at home. She learned how to do it.
Right.
She took care of him every single day.
Wow.
She was for that man. Manny Lopez was her world.
Yeah.
And my father would have done anything
Right.
for my mother.
Yeah.
Anything. And I watched my dad. When I remember being a kid, I always remember my father being so kind and so good to everyone. Whether you were the CEO of Sprint or a construction worker coming in off the street just looking to get something to eat,
Right.
my father treated you like gold.
Yeah.
And I always remember my father being such a good human to other people. That's why people loved him.
That's awesome.
I remember coming in here, you know, years ago, and he would go to every table.
Yeah.
You know, and how's everything?
Yeah.
How's everything? You know, or if he skipped one, he came back around, man. You know, he
Yeah.
might jump one to one or whatever, but
Yeah.
every time he come around, anything he was, man.
What would you say though, David? I mean, what are those unknown challenges when running a restaurant, man? Because
Oh.
here's the thing, I know people. I actually have a really good friend, man.
Yeah.
He's actually wanted to start his own restaurant.
Yeah.
I visited him the other day, walked in the building with him and everything. What are those unknown challenges that you never hear people talk about?
It's a hard life.
Hard.
It's
life.
hard because the stress is every day. There is no day that you're not worried, you know, and you have to have very thick skin. And you have to be able to say, okay, all right, Tuesday, you brought me XYZ. Okay, well, here we go.
Right.
Here comes COVID.
Right.
Here comes a minimum wage bill that's going to increase the minimum wage,
Sure.
50 cents every single year for the next 5 years, right? Here comes all these different things that you just can't possibly be prepared for.
Right.
But if you've got a good team, if you've got a good people, and for me and for my family, we dwell in the house of the Lord.
Yeah.
We live for God.
Yeah.
I am the vine, you are the branches. All that live in me and I in them.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Power of prayer, man.
It is. And
Yeah.
for me, it's having those moments. It's Saturday night and your computer system shuts down. You lose internet and your restaurant's filled with 350 people and you got 2 parties upstairs. You don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Everybody's panicking. I got people that want to pay. What are we going to do? And I just go, all right, God,
Yeah.
I know you're going to guide me through this.
There you go.
Yeah.
And my father used to always tell me this, and it's something that I think is really important.
Yeah.
Winners win.
Winners win.
Winners win not because they're more talented or because there's some secret sauce or there's some magical touch. Winners win because they value the importance of the next step. Sometimes you just got to take the next step until you can win. And everything that we've gone through in these doors, everything that's happened inside these walls, I can't imagine us being where we are right now. We are as good and as strong as we have ever been at 207 Southwest Boulevard. And we would not be here if we didn't go through COVID. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a good segue, man, because one of the things I was interested in, D-Rod and I, when we were talking about getting with you, you hit on it a little bit earlier. Things have changed in the last 40 years.
Oh, man.
In Kansas City especially, but particularly with the Hispanic Latino community creating its own amount of other restaurants to pick and choose from, right?
Yeah, man.
So I'm just wanting to know, man, like, what have you seen? What do you think has allowed you guys to continue to be just as successful as you've been, right, going forward? I mean, how many restaurants are on Southwest Boulevard?
Man, what I counted was 11. 11 of the Mexican restaurants that share from State Line or would be over here. Yeah. Now, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of
it's a lot of competition, but that's just on the street.
Yeah, that's not mentioning the thousands that make all around here, which I'm sure, I mean, there's diverse cultures,
but Manny's is a staple, right?
Yeah,
I hope
Manny's is a staple. Can you give us some thought on that? Like, what do you feel like?
So, I love the Mexican cuisine scene that we have in Kansas City. I love it. I love the uniqueness of it. I love the old school. I love the new school, old school. I love the traditional. I love the fact that, the white cheese dip is in every restaurant, but they created it. Whatever. It doesn't, I mean, honestly, it really doesn't bother me. Right? What
they created it after they came here, baby. Come on.
Maybe. But that's okay because we've earned, I say this as humbly as I can, we've earned the right here at Manny's Restaurant.
Yeah.
We've earned the right because we did it when nobody was down here. Mm-hmm. People used to come to this area for 3 reasons: Hereford House, Manny's, and Anthony's Italian restaurant down the boulevard. That was it. That was the only reason people came down here, and we have earned the right.
Yeah.
And with that comes a tremendous responsibility of understanding that, hey, Mr. Greer down there that runs Ponax, if he needed my help, if he needed anything, I'd go down there in a heartbeat and help him, and he would do the same for me. Dave Quijarte, Margaritas. Dave Quijarte flew in from Arizona to come to my inaugural for the Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association.
Wow.
I looked at him, and I was like, what are you doing here? He goes, you think I'm going to miss Manny Lopez's son's inaugural?
Nice.
And it was such a genuinely kind and beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it is that we do. I'm proud to be a leader of one of the best Mexican cuisine industries in the United States of America.
Right.
What we do here, we're a top 10 restaurant city. Forbes magazine 7 or 8 years ago called Kansas City the taco capital of the United States. Yeah. Okay? That is a huge deal.
Right.
And I'm so proud of it. Well, I'm just proud of it.
44 years. I mean, come on, man.
Hey,
that speaks for itself
success,
right
man.
there.
It does.
Man.
That's success.
We're proud of that.
Oh,
very
for
much
sure.
so.
You should be.
And you said it earlier. You said home of the crispy taco.
Yeah, man. The Kansas City taco.
Yeah. So where'd that come from, man?
So that's just my Grandpa Joe. That's just his jam.
Yeah.
That's just what him and my grandma did. See, that's the whole deal. If you think about Italian food and you think about Mexican food and you think about all these different types of cuisines that have this culture and this diversity behind it, they all come from poverty. They all come from need. They all come from scraps, from what we have in the kitchen. You know what? Ground beef was real expensive in the 30s and the 40s. So you know what we did? We got a little bit of ground beef, then we got some peas, and we got some potatoes, and we diced it up, and we did a little picadillo, and we did what we needed to do, right? We could make flour tortillas at home. We could make corn tortillas at home,
We grabbed the cheapest food you can and
we
made
it
something
great.
wonderful.
And we made it great.
That's right.
And that's the beauty of what it is that we do here. Always on the Yelp and all that stuff, whatever. It is what it is. We'll look at that every now and again. It doesn't bother me, especially Yelp. I can't stand Yelp. I really can't. I think it's awful. I think it's egregious to give an entitled group of people even more entitlement because they don't know what they're talking about. My grandma's maid didn't make tacos like that. I can't stand that crap. It makes me nuts.
Got you.
But what I do like is the fact that, it's Tex-Mex, it's this, it's Manny's Mex.
It's Manny's.
It's the Lopez family.
Yeah.
That's what we do. Our family came from from the inland.
Born from poverty.
Right. And they came more from the inland of Mexico, right? Yeah. And a little bit outside of Guadalajara. And it was oregano, and it was beef, and it was flour, and it was masa, and it was garlic, and it was tomatoes, and all those things that we had right there, right?
Jalapenos,
and so, right, and it's all those wonderful things that were more inland, and so that's what worked for our family.
Yeah.
You know, my grandpa used to walk around here, and I always remember this when I was a kid, saying he used to walk by here with his cane and see just restaurant just packed, and he'd just laugh, and he'd go, "Oh, mijo, I can't believe people pay us money for this." I can't believe it, because that's what Joe Lopez did. He'd go to the Santa Fe and he'd pack a bunch of burritos that Lucy made, and he'd sell them for $2-3.
Yeah.
man.
And those sweet, beautiful Irish dudes, give me one of those things. They loved
guys
it.
still do that, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the way it goes, right?
It's kind of crazy you were saying that, David.
We all
because-
know family members that do that too,
Hey,
right?
yeah.
They get on the website, they get
100%.
online, they go, "Hey, man, I got some of this or that. You want that?"
100%.
Hell yeah.
You know, my grandmother, shout out my grandma Rodriguez, man. She's going to be 91 here soon. God
That's
bless her.
awesome. That's beautiful.
92, sorry. 92. She told me 91 the other night. I should listen to her. Anyway,
She
she's
could be
doing-
91. That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll let her be
Yeah.
91.
So she used to tell me a story. Actually, she's told me the story before. She used to go to Bicklemeyer and go through the trash.
Yeah.
And she said she would go to the trash and pull out what they would cut off. Guess what that was? It was the ingredients today that we know of menudo.
Sure.
And she said she used to put it in. Her mother would make her go, take a wheelbarrow, dig through the trash, put it in a wheelbarrow, and walk it back home. And she said, I remember the kids and the people used to laugh at me.
Yeah.
Dogs
the
would follow
dogs,
her, man.
You know, and she's like, it just was. It was nasty, but to the point of, it's poverty.
Yeah.
They had to eat.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah. So that's awesome, man.
But see that generation is different, right? That
Oh, yeah.
generation of Americans had no choice.
Yeah.
And, you know, life will teach you the greatest lessons when your wallet's empty and your belly's empty,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes we have to learn those things.
Right.
And it's extremely important that we realize that from suffering, from pain, from bad moments, God is working to make something that you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
You think Manny Lopez thought he was going to run a business for 44 years and give it to generations of his family?
Right.
Do you think he was going to be on the original Convention Visitors Bureau and making big decisions with Kemper and all these big time names and all these Emmanuel Cleaver and all these wonderful men and
Right.
women that looked at
Right.
my father like he walked on air?
Right.
Right? And he, God, I used to always remember, you know, I knew my dad had a big meeting or something that he had to take care of, and because him and my mom would be in the kitchen, right? They'd have that light on,
That's where they're
and she'd be
talking
sitting
at.
there. She'd be sitting there going, "Okay, what's this bill and what's that?" And he's like, "Da da 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 da,"
Yeah.
because he always wanted to be the sharpest dude in the room.
Wow.
He never wanted anybody to get over on him. He never wanted anybody to know more than he knew.
Right.
He would get nervous, right? Because he only had that 8th grade, you know, barely high school education,
Right.
But he wanted to be the best,
Right.
He didn't want anybody, and that's pride.
Yep.
And I
It's
imagine
pride.
that's also in that time frame, in that era. I mean, you know, it probably was a lot of people counting him out. You
Yeah.
know, the struggle that he had to, surpass and come through,
And that's when he's at his best,
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's when he was always at his
Challenge
best. And,
accepted, you
and
know.
we, you know, I'll be honest with you. I have not had to go through what my father had to go through growing up. Because of my father and my mother, I lived a blessed life.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I got to go to Bishop Miege High School. I got to get a great education. I got to play a little football. I got to go to Benedictine.
Yeah.
I got to be in the choir. I got to do all these things because of my father's grit and his determination.
Right.
But I will tell you something that he made sure that I had, and I make sure that my children have. We're tough.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to come and take it from us, you're going to have to pry it from these hands.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And that's a big part of wanting to be in this industry.
Right.
No 2 days are the same.
Yeah.
Right.
And the days when it's easy, they're boring. Right? You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hey, is there a water pipe downstairs? What's
Yeah,
going on? Right? We got
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Something's
Needs
got to
to
be
break.
fixed.
Something's
Something's got to be fixed.
Yeah.
But you also have to be careful with that because it's really hard to turn off that business and that personal. Right? You got to be careful. Right? And that's another thing about the restaurant industry. You know, I was never. If keeping this place open meant I had to hurt my children or not let them have me present in their life every single day, then this place wouldn't be open.
Right.
There's a way to do this
You gotta balance it.
right. and that's extremely important.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
my children aren't always happy with me. All right, that's okay. That means I'm doing my job right.
Just
That
None of them
means I'm
are.
doing my
None
job
of
right,
them are,
right? But my children are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Number one, they have a wonderful and amazing mother. My wife is nails, right? And number two, they just have the opportunity and they understand because they knew their grandpa. They know of his story.
Yeah.
They see me every day, right? And I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And I know we're going
As
to be
you should
okay.
be,
And
man.
I know we're
As
going to
you
be
should be.
okay.
You know, it's crazy because one of the early episodes we had was Joe Arce with KC Hispanic
Oh,
News.
man, I love Joe
And
Arce.
we asked Joe, we
He's
said,
so great.
who was your greatest supporters coming out the gate when he started his own business after Fox 4, right?
Sure.
Because he talked about that, exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying, that kind of that anxiety, that stress, like, man, is this going to work? And,
Yeah.
all those things.
Them
and
doubts,
how
man.
supportive his wife, Ramona, is,
Wonderful person.
But he gave a shout out to your dad.
Oh, yeah.
He said, the Barreto family,
Mm-hmm.
Lopez, Manny Lopez, he talked about the support that
sure
he
did,
got
yeah.
from people like your father and the other Latinos that were in the community, right? I mean, I feel like we could talk a whole night about that.
Well,
stuff.
see, and that's something just to touch on it, briefly. 5 years ago, the lights went out with COVID, and it was very difficult. And in Kansas City, our leadership, including our mayor, including us as a restaurant association, we got together and we made a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We're one of the few, if not the only, cities to stay open throughout the entirety of COVID because 44% of your workforce in Kansas City is hotels, bars, and restaurants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay? These people look like us.
Yeah.
Right? And they can't go home and have their kid open up their laptop. What's a laptop?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have to make their money every single day so they can keep food in the refrigerator, keep their lights on, keep clothes on their children's backs. And at that time, I commend the mayor on making a very maybe against the grain decision to trust the restaurant industry to do it the right way, to sanitize and to be healthy and to do things right. He trusted us, and we didn't let him down.
Yeah.
And I promised him that we wouldn't. And because of that, an already damaged city that all the homeless shelters close up. Nobody wants to come down here and volunteer anymore because everybody's scared, right? And so all of a sudden, everything just kind of erupts, and it gets scary. But the Latino community, how we handle ourselves, and how we've handled ourselves for generations,
Right.
whether it's COVID,
Resilient, man.
whether it's these ridiculous racial issues that people like Manny Lopez had to deal with, and across the board,
Sure.
and it's something Joe Arce, hello, right? We could, like you said, we could talk about it forever, but it's that type of willingness and compromise and courage to have the conversation that was instilled in me at a very young age from watching these titans plow the road for us.
Oh, yeah, man.
So that we can keep it going.
Yeah.
Because that's what's extremely important. Our community in Kansas City, we didn't make excuses. We didn't want handouts during COVID.
Right.
We just rolled up our sleeves and got it done.
Got it done.
Yeah.
And that's something that we should be proud of.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Without a doubt, man.
So, from your experience, not just with this restaurant, but I know you've worked at other places, and you're on the board. We'll get to some of that here in a bit. What would you feel like, David? Like, what's one of the number one reasons restaurants actually fail?
Oh, that's such a good question. Sometimes I think it can be a combination of things. I think that's really what it is because the restaurant industry is so difficult. A lot of it has to do with just really people truly not understanding what they're getting into. Can you repeat it? Can you be repetitive? Can you be consistent?
Like you said, every day is different. Man.
Every day is different.
Yeah.
But what will never be different is the Manny's Pork Burrito here at 207 South Hills Boulevard, right?
Where's it
That's
at?
the consistency, right? That's the consistency.
Where's it at, man?
And people come in and they don't take care of their staff.
Yeah.
They don't pay them right. That's a big problem. And they don't spend money the right way.
Right.
They think they can cut corners, and then all of a sudden those corners end up cutting you in half.
Yeah.
And you're done. And by the time you realize you're done, the debt's almost insurmountable because the bills don't stop. Right. So that's a big part of it. The finance part of this deal is immense.
Okay.
Because it takes way more capital than you can imagine. Right? It's not about the lights. It's not about the building. It's not about the rent. It's about the product you're bringing in here weekly.
Right.
It's about the people what kind of people do you want in here? Because you pay for what you get.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And how are you going to give that service? people right now are making the big mistake, especially coming off of COVID, of letting technology, quote unquote, be the service.
Man,
right?
You can see it in
right?
every place
you
you
can
go
see it,
to.
right?
Man.
Okay, Jose, good luck. You've got 12 tables on Saturday night at Manny's. Here's your handheld. Go get them.
Yeah.
I'd walk out of the restaurant. Right? That's impossible.
Right.
But you're seeing people take advantage of it the right way.
Yeah.
And now, because we use handhelds here, and our individual server sales are almost up 6% that use the handhelds.
Oh, really?
Because they can focus more on the table, focus more on the customer, do what they need to do, because we got a great system here.
Yeah.
So if most people don't invest in the system that gives the people the product, which is service, food, and quality.
Gotcha.
And that's why they
Okay.
get up.
They got to invest in that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I think people, because I'm sure there's going to be some restaurant owners listening to this or want to be, and it's like, man, how did they lasted so long?
Sure.
Where you have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because I can remember growing up, man, in Kansas City, it was like the one place you go eat pan dulce, La Fama Bakery, right down the street, right? No longer there.
Yeah, it's a shame.
But people always used to say, oh, the Boulevard, the Boulevard, right?
Yeah.
And now you don't hear that as much because it's spread out now. You got Northeast Independence Avenue, you got Central Avenue, Kansas Avenue,
7th Street, and all those wonderful
7th
places.
Street.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of places now. So it's good to see so much of the Hispanic Latino community embracing their own entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Right.
And I think a bigger thing too is if Manny and Vivian Lopez did not own this property at 207 Southwest Boulevard, we wouldn't have made it through COVID. If you own your own property, right, you got a shot. Because even if you fail,
because there's no rent. Or
even
anything.
even if you fail,
Right.
you got a nice little umbrella that you can sell that property for.
Right.
McDonald's didn't make billions off of food. They made billions off of property and consistency.
Yeah.
That's it.
The Founder, the movie.
That's a good one.
Tells you all about
and it's
it.
true. And I read that book. It's awesome.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And it's
so,
good stuff.
So when your dad got this place, there was how many seats is it?
So he was in 1980. We just had this.
Yeah.
It was just
This right here,
65
this
seats
bar
here
area?
in that area, and then the upstairs.
65.
That's it, right? And now we have 65 employees. Isn't that funny? So that was pretty much about it.
Yeah.
In '86, we went through here. This used to be a body garage. They fixed yellow taxi
wow.
cabs. That's why you see that 3-bay door over there. It used to be a garage.
Yeah,
You should come in here. That's why the ceilings are so high.
Yeah.
Because it had to get up on the lifts, right?
Yeah.
Then in '92 or '96, I'll think of it here. We got that third part of it. We started buying
The
that.
back
That
part.
Yeah, the back part used to be an insurance company
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
So mom and dad used to live upstairs in that apartment while I was in college, right? Then we changed that into a private event space,
Okay.
right? Which we do extremely well with.
Good.
That's something that we have. Now that we're here, now that COVID's over, if you're a small business owner, you got to ask yourself, what can I do? What can I do to keep my people paid? Because minimum wage is going to go up again next year. Okay? It's not a joke. It's for real. That's the law. That's an enforced cost.
Sure.
Right? That you cannot control. Right? So how are we going to do it?
Yeah.
I got the greatest taco on the planet, but I can't charge $30 for it.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Right? So private events has been really big for us. Catering has been big for us.
Awesome,
So
man.
we're kind of spreading our arms
Spread
out a
out
little
like
bit, right?
that,
So to that end, man, how could somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to, have
Rent
their
a
own
space.
private event?
Yeah.
or-
Website. Our website is my sister Kim's done a great job building our website. You get in there, hit private dining. You can send an inquiry. It goes directly to me. David Lopez, general manager, private event coordinator, caterer, janitor, bartender. Right. Hey man,
Soccer.
I had to fix the toilet a couple Saturday nights ago. Everyone's like, "Oh, there's someone in the toilet." I was like, "Oh, here we go."
What
Got my
is-
gloves
what is-
on and
What
ran.
is the website, David?
So it's Manny's KC, MANNYSKC.com.
Okay. Manny's KC.
So great website. We've done a really good job in the last year of evolving, right? DoorDash, pick up a delivery,
Oh,
do
yeah,
everything
right,
you want to
right.
do. Really exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Uber Eats, all that fun stuff we're doing now. Because you have to.
Yeah.
Right? You have to.
Sign of the
Right.
times,
Well,
man.
you got to make that money.
Yeah, man.
It's there. Go
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, everybody
Right?
else getting it.
Yeah, go get it.
There's plenty for everybody.
I like money. Come on. Let's go
Yeah,
get it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're going to make some changes, do what we need to do.
Yeah.
What's the most popular plate you have here?
Oh man, that's such a good question.
Got to be the pork burrito.
The Manny's pork burrito is nuts.
Man.
People really, really dig that, right? And the beef tacos, man. If I go out of town or I'm gone from this place for maybe like a week or so, man, the first thing I eat is I gotta eat 2 beef tacos, dude.
Well,
and our
listen,
tamales are really good as well.
I gotta confess something, man.
Go ahead, preach.
And that's only because, like I said,
Hidden gem, right?
Hidden gem, man. I come here. I've been here many times, many
That's
birthday
awesome.
parties, all that, and I love your food. It's incredible. But one thing that I've always got, and I catch a lot of shit for it, is I'd come in, I get your cheeseburger, man.
Yeah, it's good.
That's a good cheeseburger, man. That's
the truth, man.
I had to fess to you, man, because
That's okay.
every time,
It's
brother,
really good.
brother,
You made it good.
And
on
those
purpose,
steak
bro.
fries,
Bro,
I mean, they're yummy,
listen,
man.
I get so much shit from my friends and people. What are you getting a cheeseburger? Hey, man, it's a good burger.
Just
man.
get an enchilada on the side or something like that. Make it feel better, right?
I do get some on
Well,
the side.
and my old man,
that's
that's all Manny Lopez, right? That's my father.
oh, really?
That's him. He's like,
It's a
we're gonna have a
great
good
burger,
cheeseburger,
man. It's a
right?
great burger,
Because
man.
some of the fun stuff that when my father was with the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we travel all over the world, right? And he would always take me with him, always him, my mom, the three of us, right? I mean, I'm talking about we're staying in 5-star hotels all over the country, Canada, London, and it was the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm golfing with these guys, these titans of industry. Jose Nino, the CEO of Pepsi, right?
Wow.
Pepsi, the Pepsi,
Sure.
right? And he knows who I am, and I just all these. He was such a great guy to me.
Sure.
And about 4 days, right?
Yeah.
And that'd be every night. One of those nights, we get room service. And Manny Lopez, give me 3 cheeseburgers and fries up here. And he just loved it. He loved that. That feel from the hotel, right?
Yeah,
he loved that big
for
cheeseburger.
sure.
Like, remember Paul's?
Yeah.
God, my dad would order a cheeseburger
Come
basket
on,
from
man.
Paul's.
The basket,
Pay
right?
everybody, right?
Yeah.
Who wants a cheeseburger basket? I was like,
All
there you
onion
go, right?
rings,
That's
man.
what he
Raise
did.
your hand if you miss pause.
Come on, man. I miss it.
That's
man.
crazy.
Miss pause. Them onion rings were nuts.
Those
They were the
onion
best.
rings, man.
So let's talk about your childhood, David. I know you sound like you said there was an apartment upstairs. You probably stayed in a couple.
I was probably
times,
up there a couple times.
But where do you remember growing up here in Kansas City the most?
So, I remember being on Holly Street. That's where my mom and dad, had their house, and my grandma French lived 2 houses down, and the Marinos, Miss Moreno, used to always watch me and babysit me.
Yeah.
And I remember that immensely. I remember being on my big wheel. I remember always, I remember all those things.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I got to be about 1st or 2nd grade, we were moving. And, I didn't really understand it because I was pretty young. But, here I go. I'm going to St. Agnes, right? And we're part of that parish, and we live 2 blocks away. And it was such a beautiful gift that my parents gave me.
Okay.
We're
That's
part
over.
of,
That's over in Roland Park.
yeah, so we're part of that community,
Yeah.
And St. Agnes and Bishop Miege,
Yeah.
those are my home. That's my home.
Shout out Stags.
Right. And I love it. My nieces and nephews went to Miege.
Yeah.
Our family legacy and our tradition is very strong. My oldest daughter, 4 state championships in soccer, all state. My son playing every Friday night for 3 years and watching him do what I did. And then I've got my beautiful Rose who's going to do the same thing as Sophie did in soccer. And then the Cub, Josh, the big Cub coming under the wings. And to have that type of, I remember coming home from school, from St. Agnes, walking home, all my buddies, the English boys, we're all, the Englishes, the Burnses, the Martins, we're all playing football outside, beating the crap out of each other and doing everything. We'd go to Rosedale Elementary in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's where I went to school.
Right?
Man.
And so we'd take our
They
wiffle ball bats,
used
man.
to bully me off of the court. No,
Yeah, come on.
I'm just joking.
They had that baseball field, though, right? Where the parking lot is now.
Yes.
And
yes.
we would be on that baseball field every damn day of the summer.
Yeah.
Every day,
nice,
dude.
man.
Every day. And we would yell at each other. We'd get in fights. We're going crazy.
Good old boy
You can't
stuff,
hit from the
man.
right hand anymore, man. You already put 2 over the fence. Okay,
Yeah.
well, just and that kind of that makes my heart
Sure.
it makes my heart feel good.
Yeah.
And I like today before I came here, I got Lola, my dog, and we walked around Miege.
Nice.
And when I'm on that campus, it just feels like home. We had so many good people at Miege, right? Dave Eller, Mr. Anderson, all these wonderful people Terry English, rest in peace.
Yeah,
Terry English was like a father to me.
Oh, yeah.
right? He didn't have to do that for me.
Mm-hmm.
He always took care of me.
Right.
He always welcomed me into his home. And him and Susie are people that I loved like they were my family. Yeah. And
so you played sports, you said, though, right?
I did. I played. Well, I played baseball and football. I was.
Which one did you excel in?
I played college football.
Okay.
And I had a couple good Saturdays, more than most.
We can find some footage of you.
No, you're not going to find any footage of me. You're not going to find any footage of me. I was okay. I played hard. I was a running back. I was a big running back.
Oh, they got to be something.
How many 2,000-yard seasons did you have, David?
Hey, I had a couple touchdowns my senior year. I was pretty happy.
Man.
And I love Miesh, right? And it was those Friday nights were the best. And St. Agnes. I mean, St. Agnes is my home. We used to hang down on those little wells and try to go home from school and recess. And where's Mr. Lopez? And I'm like, oh, if you're down there, we're going to give you detentions. Go away.
So did you went to college? Where'd you go to college?
I went to Benedictine College.
Benedictine.
Atchison, Kansas, yeah.
Okay, in Atchison. So did you play sports at Benedictine?
I did. I played football there for 3 years. I was in the choir. The choir was something that happened to me because of a wonderful person named Barbara Nelson at Miege my sophomore year. She told me, she goes, I hear you yelling on that football field every Friday night at the top of your lungs. She goes, I won't give you a detention in music appreciation anymore if you come and try out for the choir.
Yeah.
Right? And
So
I was
you're
like,
a singer.
And I was like, bet. And so I go over there thinking this is a joke. I just won this bet. There's no way.
Yeah.
And she opened the door to one of the most beautiful gifts that I've ever received in my life. I loved singing. I loved being in the choir. All my children are in the choir at Miege. I've got a son down at TCU, Vincent, who's trying to be on stage and doing musical theater, and he's fantastic at it. He's really good.
That's incredible.
And music is such a big part of our family.
Yeah.
And my mom, believe it or not, I used to play the French horn when I was younger, and I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Right until
You still play it?
No, until I got in my sophomore year against Blue Valley on a cold Friday night. And I didn't put my mouthpiece in, and I bit my lip, and it cut, and I had to get like 8 stitches. And it was my mom. I had stupid sport. My dad was just like, "Hey, he's fine. It'll be fine. Just relax, you know." But no, man, I that was once again we talk about community, right? We talk about how much it defines a person.
Yeah.
If you see people that have success, you see that they come from a home, right? Not everyone's blessed to have the family life that I did. I get that.
Sure.
But everyone has got somebody that believes in them more than they believe in themselves. And that's all it takes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's well said, man. Well said.
So I was going to ask you, man, so when you said about the school and all that, and you mentioned that you had some other jobs that you had prior to this.
Sure.
At what time in your life did you decide that you were going to go ahead and come up in here?
So that decision was kind of made for me. And I'll tell you why. Because my girlfriend, who is now my beautiful wife, and I put things a little bit out of order. A little shotgun wedding action. So Sophia was
there's nothing wrong with
Sophia was 8 months in the oven while my beautiful wife and I got married. And I'll tell you straight up about that conversation. I wanted to be a police officer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to. But a really good friend of mine, Terry's oldest son, Mark, we were going to move to California. I was already looking at San Diego Police Department. I was trying to get those things going. That's where I wanted. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
what made you want to do that?
I don't know.
To get away,
honestly, I just wanted to help people.
Yeah.
I always saw my dad helping people.
Yeah.
I always saw my dad being so many people's hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Just with a smile, just with kindness, and just with friendship.
Yeah.
And he did a lot for a lot of people. And there's a lot of people out there in Kansas City that wouldn't be where they are without him. And I don't know. I just wanted to be a cop. I really did. I had so much respect for that.
Right.
And
your wife stopped that.
She did, probably rightfully so. I probably wouldn't have been a very good cop. But she, sometimes those situations don't work out.
Yeah.
And she's the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's never easy when you're with somebody for 25 years. You're supposed to be growing up when you're in your 20s, right? You're supposed to be like finding out who you are, right? But instead we were going crazy trying to raise 5 little birds in the nest, but we did okay. My old man looked at me. He looked at me straight up when we went there and told him our situation. And he said, "Hey, it's time to get those earrings out of your ears, and it's time to grow up.
Yeah.
Because you are responsible for a human. son. He goes, and this woman, he goes, whether you guys are together or not, he goes, you're going to take care of her.
Yeah.
Because that's what a man would do.
Yeah.
You know, and my father says that from experience. He made mistakes. Yeah. He didn't handle his first marriage the best way. He'd be the first person to tell you that.
Yeah.
Right? And if he could change it, he would.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, we got to just learn the best we can, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, I got in here. I was very arrogant. I was very young. I thought I knew everything. My sisters probably wanted to gouge my eyeballs out. And but going back to Debbie,
do they ever still want to?
Probably, yeah. I can guarantee you that. Yes,
Hey,
I
man,
can guarantee it.
You know a little more now.
Man.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's part two.
But like, Debbie was great.
Yeah.
She saw my energy, and she knew that who I am today was inside of me back then.
All along, right?
And she never gave up on me.
That's awesome, man.
And I was in the kitchen for 11 years.
Yeah.
My father said, you're going to learn every inch and every switch and every button and every tile of this 24,000 square foot piece of property. He goes, because if somebody knows it more than you do, we're in trouble.
Yeah, you ain't doing it right.
Yeah, you're in trouble. That's
good
when you can take advantage of it.
Good
so
advice.
I know how to make the rice. I know how to make the tacos. I know exactly what Rafa needs every Friday and Saturday. I loved that part of my life because I really learned something cool.
Well, it's yours, man.
Yeah, and
It's yours,
that's the
man.
deal. And it's always ours, right?
Yeah.
It's always ours. And when I say ours, it's because my sisters put their time in,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
It's because Manny and Vivian killed it and crushed it and worked so hard.
Right.
It's Kansas City's because they come through our doors.
That's right.
It's my staff because they work so hard and they've taken care of their families.
Yeah.
So it's ours. I'm just the dude trying not to wreck the ship, man.
What do you remember most, David, like about growing up in Kansas City? I mean, I'm sure you remember the restaurant and, you know, being with your family and things like that. But is there a favorite memory you have growing up in Kansas City that you would say, man, this sticks out to me?
We're talking a lot about Manny Lopez, so I'm probably going to share a Manny Lopez memory. So when I was at St. Agnes, my dad had a guy, and his name was Donnie. And Donnie was kind of my dad's bodyguard, maintenance man. Donnie was 6'4",
Shadow.
235 pound,
Yeah.
beautiful black man who loved my father.
Yeah.
My father took care of him, and he would have done anything for my dad.
Right.
And so Donnie would come and pick me up, right? It's a Wednesday afternoon, right? And me and Donnie would get my dad's truck. He'd send my dad, and my dad just, hey, go get Dave. You know, bring him down here. So me and Donnie would stop over here at Rosedale.
Oh, yeah.
He'd always have a football in the truck, and we'd throw the football around.
Yeah.
And he's like, what about that homework, Mr. Lopez? And I'm like, Donnie, I don't want to do it. He's like, come on, man, you got to do it. So I remember days like today when the sun's out and sitting on the back of that truck, and Donnie would always have like a strawberry pop or something like that, right? And we'd be sitting there drinking that pop. Don't ask me for help. Now you know I can't help you.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and doing my homework, and then we go down to the Hereford House down here on Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
And I walk into the bar, man, and that bar is just a cloud of smoke as everybody smoked, right?
Yeah.
And in the back
I
far,
miss that place.
It was cool, man. In the
Yeah.
back corner of that bar, in a big circle booth on the corner, there's Manny Lopez. He's got a cigarette in his hand, holding court, telling
his
stories. Everybody's loving, just cracking up. He's got the whole bar area just cracking up because it's Manny.
Right.
That's what he does,
Yeah.
right? And I remember him peeking over and looking and seeing me, right? I get a little emotional about it because
Sure.
I
Okay,
feel
man.
like that's how.
Yeah.
If
how
I
you
get it,
remember it.
if I get a chance to go to heaven, that's how he's going to welcome me. He's going to peek, and he'd look at me and he'd go like this,
Yeah.
and he'd tell everybody to get away.
You ever have dreams with him like that?
I always have dreams with him.
Yeah.
He's always with me.
That's great.
Always.
That's great. I'm a firm believer in that.
That he's my compadre forever, and he'd grab me, and we'd go into one of they had these little private rooms Hereford House down there did that weren't in use.
Yeah.
So him and I would go in there, you know, and Amy, bring him a root beer.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. And he'd show me how to do the salad with the dressings. They got to put the pink, then you got to put the yellow.
Yeah.
And you always get your steak medium rare. Always get it medium rare, right? And don't ever get any of that other shit. We don't need mushrooms. Like, you get that steak, right? And so we'd sit there and we'd eat, and he'd ask me about my day. He always talked to me about things. He always made time for me.
Yeah.
I think his heart always felt when it was pulling away from mine because he was too busy, because he built Kansas City. He's one of the pillars, right?
For sure.
And I will always remember those moments.
That's awesome. Man.
God, man, I can just feel it in my heart, right? He'd take me on walks, man, down the plaza on Sundays. We'd go to church, we'd go to Guardian Angels.
Yeah.
Then we'd walk from Westport, from Holly Street.
Yeah.
We'd walk down there. I had a little red and yellow Chiefs football.
Yeah.
And we'd go in where that Cancer Survivor Park is right down there. It used to be just an open park, right?
Yeah.
We'd go in there. He's 60 years old. He's throwing the football with me and he's catching. He's going crazy.
Yeah.
And we're having fun. He used to pretend like we'd get lost. Dave, do you know how to get back? Right? And he was just doing that so that I knew how to kind of navigate and like how to get around it, right?
Yeah.
And
That's that daddy, man.
I love that, man.
That's awesome, man.
I loved it.
I mean, man, you had an incredible father, David, and I'm
Yeah,
so
for
glad
sure.
that
I
we're
appreciate
here
that.
with you because I'm learning so much about Manny Lopez, your dad.
Yeah.
I mean,
And,
I knew he was a great man just from, and I didn't never talk to him personally.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the, hey, Manny, how you doing, Mr. Lopez,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, But
Right.
that, the memories, man,
Yeah.
it's a treasure, man.
It's good stuff. You know, when hustlers like Manny Lopez start to break down, it's a blessing when God takes them.
Sure.
And those last 10 years were special for my mom and him, and they were special for me and him because I was tough. I was a big old stonehead. I thought I had all the answers. I thought I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And he was always patient with me, but sometimes he got angry with me.
Yeah.
And that was tough.
Yeah.
And that was hard. And all boys and their fathers are going to have a tough time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But
man.
what I learned from my father was that the only thing that matters is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that other stuff is just bullshit.
Yeah,
all the
sure.
stuff we waste time with,
Right.
that we're killing relationships with in our family because of our own pride,
Yeah.
that's all for the birds, man.
Yeah.
Love is all that matters, and my father taught me that. And
Couldn't have said any
Couldn't
better.
have
You
said
know.
any better, man.
he used to make me pick him up when I was coaching my oldest boy, Joe, at St. Agnes with Mark Pedrati, our buddy. And his son and Joe are the same age. And my dad would be like, hey, come pick me up. And I'd pick him up, and he'd sit in the back of my car, and I'd roll the window down, and he'd just smoke a cigarette and watch Joe play football.
Yeah.
And it's the little things. I watched him watching a lion go into the den like that,
Yeah.
watching him
Yeah.
slowly kind of fade away was hard,
Yeah.
right? But if I feel this way for the rest of my life, to have a man like that be my father, I can deal with it.
Good, man.
I'm gonna share something with you, man. That it was last night, and I have my youngest daughter. Like every episode, I'm like, baby, I want to wear this shirt, right? And I'm like, pick out which one I'm gonna wear, with the hat. And I have this one on, a couple other ones, and she comes, she looks, she's like, who's this guy? I was like, David Lopez. Manny's. We go to Manny's. She's like, yeah. Like, well, it's his dad. He took it over his dad. He's not with us no more.
Yeah.
And she was like, wear that shirt. And because it says, badass like my dad. Man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just
Yeah.
that
That's
right
cool.
there, man,
Yeah.
for as
Yeah.
much as the stories that you're saying,
Sure.
it couldn't have been a better shirt that my daughter picked out. Right?
Sure.
And for what we're talking about, man, I wanted to
I
share
love it.
that with you,
I
man.
appreciate that very much. That's
You know,
awesome, man.
I mean, shout out to my daughter, Madi, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tell her
was
great choice. That's awesome.
Yeah, she was looking like this.
Sounds like we owe her a taco.
Well, hey, man, I think just like I said earlier, man, the legacy that you're keeping alive from your
Yes.
dad to you, man, it's amazing, David. Let's
I
talk
appreciate
about
that.
some of your philanthropy, though, man, because I think there's some people who don't know how
Yeah,
involved you are in outside of the restaurant. So, one of the things I read on you is that you serve on the Greater KC Restaurant Association board.
I do. That was the Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association is one of the most powerful restaurant associations in the United States of America here in Kansas City. It is so cared for and loved by the people that benefit from it the most, which is restaurateurs, allied members. My father was a huge piece of the Greater Kansas City Restaurant Association. We just celebrated our inaugural last Saturday night and had our first black president in 108 years in Alan Nealon with the Combine, who young blood's going to do some good stuff.
Yeah.
And he's my brother, and I love him, and I'm proud of him. We've worked really hard.
Who else is on that board? With
So
you?
there's probably about 30 or so members.
Okay.
It's a pretty big, diverse
wow.
board,
That is a
right?
big
We
board.
do
Nice.
well. You know, we've got allied members like U.S. Food, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Serve Pro, places like that. Then we
Yeah.
have restaurateurs, you know, Michael Garozzo, right?
yeah.
You know, Dolan, all these wonderful guys at Third Street Social, and Kim Halloran with Capitol Grill, and Tyler Banker with Third Street Social, and Alan Nealon with the Combine. So
Right.
lots, Kevin Timmons from Nick and Jake's. Lots of our community is so fantastic. We help each other, man.
Yeah.
Like for real.
Yeah.
Right. So my father was president in 1990. I was president in 2021 during COVID.
Okay.
One of the greatest honors of my life. The Restaurant Association is needed. It defends its constituents. It keeps small business men and women, black, white, brown, purple, orange. Doesn't matter what your credo is. Doesn't matter what you believe in. Doesn't matter what you think. That's why I love the restaurant industry. It's one of the last, places on earth. It's one of the last, places of hope that say, hey, we value you for what you do. Not for what you look like, not for what you believe in, but for who you are. Can you show up on time? Can you know how to work? Well, then come on, I got a place for you. And I don't think there are a lot of industries that are like that anymore. So the Restaurant Association is a beacon for that. And I'm very proud to be a part of that. And I've served my time.
What are some of those initiatives that the board's working on?
So a lot of different things have to do with, like, minimum wage is a big deal, right? Minimum wage is always important. Credit card service fees, right? Visa and MasterCard can do whatever the hell they want to do as far as what they're charging for credit card fees. So now you go to a restaurant, look at your receipt, because a lot of restaurateurs are putting that service fee on the credit cards because they don't have a choice, right?
Yeah.
They don't have a choice. So it's different things like that. It's the liquor card. We abolished the liquor card last year.
Just last year in May.
One of the most racist, unbelievably unfair, ridiculous things that I am so glad. You want to talk about Kansas City having some growth? The liquor card being gone is huge.
I was going to ask you, how has that affected your hiring?
I think it. What I think it does is it allows us to have a strong workforce, man. People make mistakes.
Man. Yeah.
People make mistakes.
Yeah.
People make bad choices. We're human. So we're going to suffer. We're going to make these people suffer for the rest of their lives because they got a minor drug charge. I mean, hell, man, marijuana is legal in what, 28, 30 of the 52 states in the United States of America? And people have served serious time for
There's still
for
people
marijuana.
in there, man.
And they get out of jail. What are they supposed to do? They can't work because everybody's afraid to hire them. Or there's ridiculous rules like the liquor card.
Like the liquor permit, right.
Well, we have to keep servers and bartenders from sexually assaulting customers. The hell are you talking about? Right? That doesn't happen in Kansas City.
Right.
It doesn't happen in the restaurant industry, period. So you're attacking for no reason.
So you was able, since you're on that board.
We were. It was a
able
great
to
move,
help
right?
to
And we've been working on
abolish
that
that.
for decades.
Yeah, man.
But the mayor, and once again, I commend him for common sense.
Yeah.
Right? Common sense. Because the people that are going to be affected most by the liquor card are black and brown men that need jobs, that want to work, right? We're trying to protect women. Women need to make money. There are single moms out there that made a mistake. They can't get a liquor card and make money. And it's $40?
That's crazy.
That's before they even get this job. How are they going to do that?
Yeah.
So it's things like that we are extremely proud of.
That's awesome,
right?
man.
And that
That's
we
good
do
work.
for our industry, right?
Yeah.
And it's way more than just me. We have so many wonderful people that have served their time, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of something like that.
Are you still on Visit KC's board? Because I saw
So yes, I am on Visit KC's board of directors. I'm a fortunate human right now to be one of the 11. The mayor and his staff, one of the things I don't agree with him on, decided to cut that board in half, which was a ridiculous decision. Kansas City has a history, good,
just getting
bad,
bigger, man.
and ugly. And that ugly matters. Just drive down Truce, we can see that ugly. They put a line in the sand that kept all of us from playing in the playground. And
that red lining.
but you know what I'm saying, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
And Visit KC was a beacon. It was a beacon of light to show how far Kansas City has come. the diverse and culturally significant members that we had on that board that represented Kansas City was amazing. And all of us didn't get along, but you know what we did love? We loved Kansas City.
You
And
guys
we
worked
loved its
together.
people.
Yeah.
Here comes the NFL draft. Here comes FIFA in 2026. We are the only host city, okay? We are the only host city that is subtracting from its board of directorship on the CVB basis, like Visit KC is. Every other city is adding because that's how much work is going to happen. So to make something that was so uncommon and so unique common, I think that's a big mistake.
Yeah.
You know, and he's got his reasons.
Yeah.
You know, tip your cap. All right, that's fine. But when you are a mayor of color, when you are a black mayor, we all have responsibilities. If I were in that position, I'd have a responsibility as a brown Latino man, right?
Yeah.
And when you go from having such a wonderfully eclectic, diverse group of great people to now minimizing it and making people choose. I mean, what am I going to have to do, a dance in order to get on the board? Hey, I scored 10 touchdowns my senior year at Miege. Does that count? I mean, like to have that type of
Right.
oversee or oversight or somebody like look through you like that. There are good people that were told they couldn't be on the board.
Yeah.
That's awful. It's disheartening.
Yeah.
It's disheartening, right? And so, but, turn the page. It's over with. It is what it is. Kathy Nielsen and her team are just amazing. She is a fantastic human, and she is leading the way. And especially as a woman, she is she's not knocking down doors, she's blowing them up.
Yeah.
And she's doing amazing things by being in charge of the Sports Commission and Visit KC.
Wow.
Right? Saturday night, we had our inaugural. She was there in support. She always is. And my 23-year-old daughter sat next to her and talked to her. I didn't even care what they said. I was like, that is awesome. I want my daughter to get as much juice and as much knowledge
absorb
from
as
that
much as she
wonderful
can,
woman as she
yeah.
possibly can.
Yeah.
And so we've got 11 strong members.
Nice.
We know what we're going to do. We know what we need to do, and we're going to do it right. And so, hey, we know how we do it. Let's roll up our sleeves and go to work.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on, since we're talking about Kansas City
Sure.
and all that, you know, that First Fridays, man.
Sure.
You know, First Fridays, it originated back in 1987. Kansas City adopted that here years ago. You know, how has that helped you in your business here, man?
I
Is
love
there
First Fridays. Yeah, I mean, it's what I love about First Fridays.
Well, you're dead smack in the middle.
Sure,
man.
we're in the heart of it here in the Crossroads.
Yeah, man.
What I like about First Fridays is, once again, we're celebrating uniqueness. We're celebrating art.
Yeah.
All different types of art, right? And we're celebrating these wonderfully, beautifully gifted men and women and the gifts that they have. There's such a beauty and uniqueness in it.
It brings
And I
the
love
city
that.
together,
It does.
man. It brings the city together.
What I wish the Crossroads Association would do is have more control, right? Have more control on the parties that are being had. Have a little bit more regulation from a security and safety standpoint. I think that's getting a little bit out of control. You know, food trucks everywhere when we have restaurants perfectly capable of caring for everyone. I think the Crossroads Association has let that get out of control, and they know that I feel that way. You know, and that's okay. So I don't. You know, whatever I'm saying here, people know how I feel. Because that's all I have is my integrity. I really wish that it would go back to being the way it used to be before COVID, where there was way more regulation. Hey, food trucks, you can be over here. You know, there's more police walking the area. And I don't want to blame the police. KCPD have a lot going on right now. They're understaffed, undermanned, and they're doing the best they can. I have a lot of sympathy for that. We have KCPD's finest here every single night protecting our doors. I love those guys and gals, right? Sir. So I'm hoping that the Crossroads is looking at coming up with a CID, you know, a community development program. But in order to get that, they want to add a percentage to sales tax. Sales tax is already really high in Kansas City, especially for restaurants. So that's going to be difficult to support.
Well, especially down here.
You know, it's going to be real difficult to support. So there's a lot of issues there, right? So, but I will tell you this, man. I love that question because you're talking about something that has really changed over the last 20 years. I mean, it's in a July First Friday, right? Or you know, September or August or March or May. We're coming up on these beautiful times. God, it's so much fun down here.
Yeah, man.
It's fun. And it's black and it's white and it's brown and it's all the beautiful colors of the world coming down here and saying, Let's have some fun.
It's a great time
Kansas
down
City,
here.
man.
It is Kansas City.
It's a great time down here.
It is
Kansas City Crossroads, man.
Yeah, that's.
It is
I mean,
Kansas City.
that's what I tell people all the time, David. I'm like, dude, I remember just so much diversity growing up.
Sure.
You know, where I grew up, how I grew up, it just you experienced every culture. It felt like,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah.
And the one thing we all had in common, and I say this to everybody, is we were all poor. We were all poor, man. We were just trying to make it. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on.
But see,
there.
but that's what I love about the St. Agnes and Bishop Miege community. That's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's black kids, white kids, brown kids, rich kids, poor kids, middle class kids. It's the way the world should be and is, and that's what that community gives to its students. And it's just this wonderful. It feels like home,
Yeah.
right? Because people, hey, that person looks like me.
Yeah.
Hey, that person this, that person that. Hey, I'm being accepted by this group. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
And it's what makes it a special place.
Sure. No, that's good, man. New York Times, Wall Street Journal named Kansas City as one of the top places to visit
Yeah,
in
it's a
2024.
destination
I'm curious,
city.
Did you guys talk? Do you talk about
We
any of
did.
that?
We did. For Visit KC, we're privy to that information.
What do you think about that, man? When you hear stuff like that,
I think it's about time.
there you go. That's
Right?
what I was waiting to hear.
I think that's what makes it matter. You know, I used to get really angry at our Visit KC meetings because I used to say, you know, Kansas City's more than just barbecue, right? I love Jack Stacks. I love Casey Joe's. We just celebrated Ollie Gates Saturday night and dunked him in the Hall of Fame. I love those places, right?
Right.
Slaps, Rosedale Barbecue, Crispy Fry.
Shout 'em
Come on,
out,
man. Let's
out,
go.
man.
I'll do all of it right now. We'll do
Man,
all of
man,
it, man. We'll go.
I didn't eat, man. Let's
So-
do it, man.
And so, you know, and another thing that I think is crazy is that, you know, black people in Kansas City are more than just jazz and barbecue.
Yeah.
They're artists, they're restaurateurs, they're librarians, they're servers, they're doctors, they're whatever, right? And so to just keep on showing the same darn thing all the time it drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
And us too. I mean, and that's part of the reason why we started this here, Enterrupt KC, man.
Yeah.
Everybody, man.
Yeah.
There's so many people here in our beautiful Kansas City, man, that needs to be recognized.
I just went to, and I'll give them a shout out right now. I just went to 18th and Vine Brewery.
Yeah.
Vine Street Brewery.
Awesome.
First black owned.
That's so
brewery.
awesome.
I mean, man,
Yeah.
what an amazing
It's
experience.
so awesome.
And I will tell you, and I told my wife, my wife was with me. I said, this is some of the best beer at a brewery I've ever tasted locally. Honestly, I mean that in every way. I drank everything from, and there's your flights, people, calm down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the little beers. I drank everything from the darkest beer to the lightest beer, just to try them
great.
all, right?
Yeah.
But see, you see wonderful things like that, right?
Yeah.
You see that. That's a beautiful gift to Kansas City. It's allowing those folks to share their gifts,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And
And to
there's
do it
so
at a high
many.
level. And you've got Jay Rieger, right? And you've got Tomstown,
Yes.
right? And you've got all these Boulevard Brewery. I mean, hello, the OG, right? When nobody was doing it, Boulevard Brewery was doing it, right?
original,
And
man.
and so that's something that just and I'm missing so many,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Oh, yeah.
But like now
We'll get them.
when you see right, but when you see that base start to be built, and that base has different cultures and different colors and different ethnicities, that's when you get really strong, and that's when people want to come and visit you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Kansas City is about three things. Okay, Kansas City is about affordability, okay, accessibility, all right, and hospitality. Those are the three things that
Yes,
make
sir.
Kansas City unique, right? That's what makes us unique. Unfortunately, we don't have an ocean that we can go to, right?
Right.
We don't have those things that make people
Oceans
go, I
are
want to go
fun.
this,
Come on, David.
right? Come on, woo! You know, come on down. I'm a T-shirt guy. When I go there, I don't want to get too sunburned. But like the reality of it is that once the Chiefs and once the Royals, it really started with the Royals in 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Once people started to see Kansas City,
Recognize it.
right? Once people started to see, it was electric. And we at Visit KC, we had the data to prove that.
Right.
People were immediately responsive to our commercials. And Jason Fulvey and who was the Visit KC CEO before Kathy, and her team, they were striking while the iron was hot. We found ways. You know, every state during COVID cut budgets for everybody, right? Everybody's CVB got cut in every single state in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Kathy Nielsen, Board of Directors, Cindy Serco, CC Rojas,
Yeah.
all these wonderful people found a way to get the funds into Visit KC's dynamic marketing team and make it count,
Nice.
right? And that's why we're winning right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what did we say at the beginning, man? Hey, winners win.
That's right.
That's right.
They don't
man.
make excuses, dude.
That's right.
Kansas City, man.
You know, one of the things that they announced, you know, you talked about a little bit, the World Cup coming to
Yeah,
Kansas
it's
City.
exciting.
But, man, 6 games.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and one of them is a quarterfinal.
It's a huge deal.
That's a huge thing for Kansas City.
Yeah,
It's
man.
just, it's the people, man. It's the passion.
Yeah.
It's FIFA wanting to see a full stadium and a parking lot filled with 88,000 people barbecuing and giving a unique twist to the World Cup,
Yeah.
the greatest sporting event in the world.
Yeah.
And they're going to show the hell out of it, as they
got
should.
it, and we
right?
got it here, man.
And I wasn't expecting us to get like a semifinal or anything like that,
Right.
but we were quietly keeping our fingers crossed for a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge, man.
That's huge.
And people are going to love it. And the experience that the people that are going to get from traveling into Kansas City, I mean, Germany, is it going to be Germany versus Brazil? I don't know.
No, that'd be crazy.
But it's going to be crazy to have a bunch
Yeah.
of wonderful German people in here going, what's this? That's a spare rib, dude. Let me flip it over for you before I get it to you. Right? On the barbecue, making it happen, right? I mean, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be
man.
great. I can't wait. It's going to be so
I can't
exciting,
wait either, man. I
right?
can't wait either.
What is that? That is called Don Julio. We're going to take a shot of that right now. Right? Well, that's called Una Familia. Shout out to Andrew Miller doing good
shout
things
out,
right there,
shout
man.
out, Andrew. Are you doing anything special here in the restaurant to prepare for that? I mean,
So that's a good question. I mean, it's far away, but not far away,
right.
right?
Yeah.
The city is working diligently to be prepared, right, and doing everything that we can.
Right.
You know, are we going to be prepared for 50,000 people flushing the toilet at 10:30 at night in the downtown area? You know what I'm saying? Or probably more than that. I don't know. Right? So there's infrastructure things that need to be done, which are getting done. Right? We're going to be ready. We're going to be prepared. You know, Brian Platt, city manager, there's good people doing good things. You know, I feel comfortable with where we're at.
Good.
Right? I feel good about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? You know, knock on wood. Right? So
Yeah.
we're in a good space right now as a business.
Good.
Now, when the World Cup comes, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Right? The NFL draft came. But the NFL draft was the slowest Friday night we've ever had in our 44-year history
Really?
because nobody could get down here.
Oh, yeah.
It was all blocked off.
Yeah, it was all blocked
and our
off.
normal customers
Right.
were like, what? Oh, I'm not going down there. It's too crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I'm not.
Well, we're about to have a Super Bowl parade.
Sure,
too.
right? And so now that's a little different. We're a little more used to that, right? We get it. People get in and out now better for that, you know? And I also think people truly want to get in and out. And don't forget on that Super Bowl parade, I mean, it's Valentine's Day and it's Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, man.
All right? I mean, come on now. So it's one of those situations to where, you know, we will have, I will make those choices probably a year out
Okay.
of what I want to do,
Right, you're
how it
confident.
looks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be 3 days. It's going to be a length amount of time, right? We're talking about
Well,
the
people are gonna
World
come
Cup,
here early.
right?
They're gonna stay.
and we're gonna maybe we put new TVs in the bar area. Maybe we start to play that game a little bit more, right? So, yeah,
Maybe you
we're.
put a podcast set up in here.
Yeah,
Look at
man.
this, guys. Look at these guys, huh?
Enterrupt
Oh my
KC,
gosh!
man.
Oh my
I'm just
gosh!
joking, David.
You better stop it.
I mean, you know, I get excited about, you know, thinking about the Chiefs, the Royals, the World Cup, and, you know, seeing Kansas City grow. One of the things that we believe here firmly, license plates kind of tell that point. Kansas, Missouri, man, the state line has really thinned
Sure.
quite a bit over the last couple of decades. I mean, I remember a time where it felt like, and it was, you know, the state line, it was the thick state line.
Sure.
And it didn't seem like, you know, from my perspective, just growing up, going to the Fiesta, you know, we had to have this Fiesta over here, and they had to have that Fiesta
Sure.
over there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, why can't we just have one big one?
Sure.
You know?
Make it
So, I
happen.
mean, just from that perspective, growing up. But can you talk about what you've seen, your involvement in the board, the restaurant, how Kansas City has more connected as a big metropolitan area?
Well, I think you look no further than, you know, Kansas City Chiefs, right?
The sports. all
You know, Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't talk about that a lot,
Right.
right? I mean, I love Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Who does not love Ted
Man,
Lasso?
great
And if
show.
you haven't watched Ted Lasso, watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
That dude's all about Kansas City, right? And so, is it luck? Is it just unique timing? Because, you know, we've talked about this, and I keep talking about it because I think it's easy to forget. 5 years ago, the world stopped, right? And so the decisions you made then are affecting you now.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Hunt family chose to go win some Super Bowls and to make Kansas City Chiefs a beacon for this community.
Right.
And so now people don't worry about the Kansas and the Missouri anymore, right? The Missouri Tigers are in the SEC. That's kind of lost its luster a little bit with KU, Missouri, right? You got the NILs and college players are getting paid. College sports just doesn't feel the same anymore. It feels really strange. It just doesn't feel that. It doesn't feel like it used to feel anymore, right? And it feels like the jerseys that the guys are wearing are just jerseys. And it's just, it just feels funky right now. But what doesn't is the Kansas City Chiefs, right? That doesn't feel weird. And what doesn't is that we have for real events coming into our town, $100 million events, choosing Kansas City, right? Choosing Kansas City because of Visit KC, because of the quality of people. The smartest thing that the staff did at Visit KC was show Kansas City for who it really is. We're just a bunch of wonderful folks, man.
Yeah.
We're good people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Kansas City is one of the few places in this country where that line, that moral compass that we all share, no matter what we believe, hasn't been erased, right? And I think that's the connectivity that allows us to get behind the greatest football player to ever play in the NFL.
Shout out.
And not only from a talent perspective, but from his mind and how he thinks.
How he carries himself.
And
man.
what he does.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a coincidence that the Kansas City the Kansas City Royals just signed Bobby Witt to a full-time contract today?
Wow, yeah.
Huge. Biggest contract in the history of the Royals.
Was it 288?
Shout out Royals, man.
And so what are they doing? Here we all are as Royals fans going, what are these guys doing? Right? They're terrible. They don't know where they want to move their stadium to. Oh my gosh, is it going to go to KCK? I mean, what's happening? Right? And these guys have had a plan.
Yeah.
And now they're executing that plan. Right? And it's exciting to see that because either you want to be a part of this winning streak or you don't.
Yeah.
Right? And hats off to the Sherman family and the Royals ownership for doing that, right? And Casey Current. Pat Mahomes owns Casey Current. Yeah. Pat Mahomes has got a piece of the Royals, okay? Sporting KC and what they do for Kansas City and for Kansas and Missouri. And we have all of these big stars that we want to all get behind, reinvest into our town.
That's right.
And they do it because of the people.
And they're bringing that free marketing to the city.
It's huge. It makes a huge difference, right?
And man, KC Monarchs, man. I mean, they're a small
it's exciting,
team,
but
man,
it's exciting though, right? They won a
championships
championship last year.
I mean,
it's exciting.
That's the kind of baseball I grew up playing, man.
Sure,
I feel like,
it's fun, but and that's the whole thing, right? If people say Kansas City, they think of Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes, right? Travis Kelce's a little bit more edgy, but he still represents this city and this community with his full heart, his full effort, and real, genuine love and care, right? People in Kansas City don't care about Taylor Swift. They just love that she's a part of the deal.
Right.
I'm at those games watching her dance and have fun. Yeah. It's electric. It's contagious, right? Yeah. What we do here in Kansas City
NFL
is contagious, right?
She literally became a Chiefs fan because that's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do, man.
And
we go
she's
to the
dancing and she's having fun, and people genuinely love her and care about her and make her feel welcome.
That's right, man.
Because a lot of places these people go, they don't.
Yeah.
David, where do you see the city in 10 years, man, 20 years? Where do you see the city?
Ooh. I really hope that we're in a situation to where we have to diversify our city council even more. We have to continue the track of being culturally aware. We have to, in my opinion, quit bailing people out and remember the keys that allow people to be successful: education and support, right? And that's what gives people the opportunity to reach the top of the mountain, man. Everybody's got dreams. And that's what I love about Kansas City is that there's opportunities everywhere. You said it earlier, man. There's money out there. Right? And like my old man used to say, don't ever waste your life on something as common as money, right? But actually, the change that we all want to have in this city is actually occurring, but we are far from done.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Beto Lopez's of the world and all those wonderful people.
Right.
We need to keep grinding. We need to keep pushing forward. And as a Hispanic community, we have to make sure that just because we keep our noses in the ground and we work really hard, that doesn't mean you look over us.
Right.
You don't look over us.
Right.
Because we're the backbone. And we take pride in that. And we do it the right way. That's what's important.
Awesome.
I wanted to ask you, and I don't know if too many people know it or not, but has there ever been a second location?
So we were at Manny South at 151st and Metcalf, right? And we were open for 12 years out there.
Really?
But that building was a POS, dude. I'm not kidding around, man. There were like boards over holes that we pop glow sticks, Rafa and I would put them down those holes, and you're like, and it's like, and it was crazy, right? My old man, when I was playing at Benedictine, my dad's like, get 6 guys and come up here. I'll give you guys like $500.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. In 97, $500. Hey, man, let's go play.
Yeah.
And so we pull back around in Manny South. There's this big silo, right? And my dad's like, it wasn't that, maybe
Where
20
was that
feet.
at? What?
So 151st and Old Metcalf.
Okay.
Right?
Oh,
kind of by Blue Valley High School,
yeah.
Stanley, Kansas.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So it wasn't a big one. It was like a 20-foot kind of smaller one. And my dad is got this truck back there, right? And he's got these chains and these sledgehammers. I looked at him, I was like, hey, man. And he's like, you guys are going to take that down. I was like, what? And so we had to put these hazmat suits on.
Oh, man.
And all these goggles and wear these things. And my buddies were like, dude, we're never coming back down here to do this stuff. And so we got it all done. We got all these bricks out and everything like that. But that's the kind of crazy crap that we had to deal with there, right?
So there was.
There was. And we did extremely well out there.
Yeah.
The people of Stanley,
Stanley,
Kansas and the community was fantastic. But we could not keep, for every $10 we made, we're spending $20 trying to keep the restaurant up to code because it was just such an old building.
Yeah.
I mean, it was old, right? And so my old man and my mom got an offer from a really great family, really good developers. And my dad was just like, we gotta just be done with this, right? Because we just can't keep losing money on this.
Yeah.
And so, and originally we were going to stay out there. They offered us a plot to own, and my dad just was like, you know what, we're okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that was a little bit of a
keep
mistake,
it at home base,
and that's true. And this is like 4 restaurants in one. This is a big one.
Yeah.
But I trust my mom and dad on the decision they made there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the best decision for the time.
And it was nice for Manny and Vivian Lopez to get a little capital for the work that they've given.
Right.
My father was representing the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. He did that on his own dime. He flew everywhere. He did what he needed to do. He flew to San Antonio to help a mom and pop operation not get hosed by the bank, just because they don't know any better or because of the color of their skin. Yeah. He chose to do those things. And so that was nice. I believe this. My father and my mother both tell me this. My mom tells me this every day. Just do as much right as you can.
Yeah.
Just do as much right as you can, and God will be with us.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna wrap it up here shortly, man, and just want to ask you a couple other questions outside of that, man. Just something like as simple as, what's your go-to meal, man?
My go-to.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's okay, let me put it this way. All right, I'm gonna again. Here we are, Enterrupt KC, man, and our logo: people, places, things, Kansas City, right? So, another question. Can you give us a person, a place, or a thing that you feel that represents KC?
A person, place, or thing. Well, my go-to meal is wonton soup at Blue Koi. I love
Blue
that
Koi.
freaking soup.
The wonton
Out
soup.
there.
Blue Koi is fire.
They used to be down here on Westport, but now they only have the location out at Mission Farms.
Yeah.
And so, and we used to live out there. But yeah, man, I go in there. They know me. They always make fun of me because I always look at the menu. The guy's like, dude, you know what you're going to get. And I was like, that's true. That is very true.
That's your go-to.
It's ridiculously good, right?
Really?
I really enjoy that.
They probably have some of the best dumplings in the city.
It's nuts, right? They're very, very good. And I will tell you, Farina's over here.
Yeah.
The pasta that this dude's making, he just won another award.
At what place?
Farina's over here, the Italian restaurant.
Okay.
It is nuts.
Nice.
Michael
Really?
Smith is talented as it gets.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful guy. Him and his wife are killing it.
Yeah.
So, but if I have to, if you put a gun to my head, I'm wonton souping it right now.
Wonton
That's
souping
my
it?
feeling,
Man,
right?
that's
my
good.
feeling.
I'll have to
right?
check that out,
It's
man.
it's good, dude. And you know,
Yeah.
and I'm in this big clean phase right now. Like I like to eat clean and all that crap.
right.
Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, right? When Josh and I on Saturdays we get done with our baseball at a Natural Baseball Academy, right? And I help coach the catchers out there. We'll go to Go Chicken Go out there in Olathe.
Hey,
We'll get a half.
Go.
We'll get a half.
Cheese
We'll get a
sauce,
half.
man.
We'll get a
You
half.
want them
We'll get a
gizzards?
half pound of gizzards.
Hey.
Don't put those livers in there. Don't put get those damn things out of here.
That's what I'm talking
All
Hey, so
gizzards
is
and a
that-
large strawberry pop.
It's got to have strawberry, man.
Gotta have
Is
strawberry.
that what's for dinner tonight? What's for dinner tonight,
What's for
man?
dinner tonight is a good question. My daughter plays tonight at 8:00 in a little soccer, little showcase deal. So
okay.
maybe we'll do a little pizza or something like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm a big Minsky's guy too. I'm a big local guy, dude.
Oh, yeah,
like
for
Minsky's
sure.
got, you know,
I had it last night.
the
man.
prime cut at
Naming-
Minsky's,
naming
the
all
cheeseburger
the Kansas
pizza.
City
Oh,
classics,
dude.
man.
Man, KC,
So good.
man.
What
So-
do you, I'm curious, David. Like, what do you do to get away, man? Like, you talked about you love music and stuff.
Yeah.
Man. Like, do you travel? Do you listen to music, or what do you do?
You know, for me, this is the first year I'm not going to coach sports in probably 21, 22 years.
Taking a break.
Taking a break.
Okay.
Coaching for me is what I feel like that's my purpose. That's my vocation.
Yeah.
I love working with young men and women. I love pushing and driving, and I love
seeing
it
the
when-
progress and
Yeah, I
everything
love
too,
it when they surprise themselves.
Yeah.
Is a gift.
Self-esteem, man.
And I've been doing this for a long time, but this year I had to take a little bit of a break. I just had to kind of step back a little bit, you know. And I won't lie to you, the last 5 years for me, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, it took a lot out of me.
Took a toll.
You know, and this is the first time I've ever kind of been weary. You know, I was up against the ropes and I got out,
Yeah.
Sure.
right? But it was really difficult,
Yeah,
you know. And for me, it's going back to what I talked about earlier. It's church.
Yeah.
It's prayer. It's the 7 sorrows of Mary every single night.
Yeah.
It's writing in my journal. It's just letting myself have some peace and quiet. It's
Yeah.
walking my dog.
Yeah.
It's just doing little things like that. The travel thing, I will do eventually, but it's tough for me to be away right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've got 5 kids that are living their life, and I'm super proud of all of them. And my wife she is just an unbelievable baller for the Archdiocese of Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
She is doing great things for the church, and she's living her mission. She's living her purpose.
Right.
And so, you know, for me, it's just finding time for me to just be easy on myself.
Yeah.
Right? I like living on the edge. That's where I live.
Yeah.
And that can be very dangerous.
Sure.
Right? And I've had my struggles, just like we all have.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure,
and
man.
the only way I've put those things behind me, I stopped searching for God and I started searching for me. And I found God was always here the whole time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing for me right now.
Cool,
Sure,
man.
sure.
Cool.
Sure. Yeah, man.
You know, here's something I know you can vibe with, man.
I'm in. I love vibing.
Tell us you're from KC without telling us you're from KC.
Tell us in case you
Yeah.
Oh my God. I already gave the answer. I said Paul's cheeseburger basket, right?
Give us another one.
Oh, how about oh my gosh. Tell you from KC without telling you from KC. I'm trying to think of a good one. You put me on the spot.
Hey, this is the question I love because people, they're like, I got to give you a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us from KC without telling you from KC. I always go to food, man. The
Yeah.
crispy fry, right? This is going to be, probably pretty. What's that sandwich at Casey Joe's that everybody gets, man, with the onion ring on
Q.
Oh,
Was it
the
the Q?
the Z-Man.
it? The Z-Man, right? I love that.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. I don't know. I there's so many things that are going through my mind right now. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right?
Think about it.
Jeez.
It ain't the last thing. You mentioned all that involvement, man, and all the things you're doing. I know you're still raising some young folks.
Sure.
Still
Hopefully.
in high school age, and one of the things that we try to ask everybody, because I mean, especially from we love hearing the perspective of community leaders, people that are just really connected to the community, restaurant owners, and,
Yeah.
and leaders. What advice you got? What advice do you have for those young people that they don't know what they want to do when they graduate? You know, what's your advice just overall? Like, hey, this is what I would advise a young person.
I think the most important thing that what people are missing right now in this younger generation, they're missing the adventure. They're missing the journey. They're so afraid of failing. They're so afraid of making a mistake. They're so afraid of being wrong or being told, no, you're not good at this. And it makes me so damn sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I can't imagine who I would be today if I didn't fall flat on my face as many times as I have. Yeah. And those mistakes hurt me. They hurt me. They hurt my heart, especially when they come at the cost of people I absolutely love and adore.
Yeah.
Right? But I am not who I am if I don't take these adventures.
Yeah.
If I don't take a chance. And that's something that I think these young people just don't understand. Life is meant to be lived.
Yeah.
Not through 8 inches of plastic in your pocket, but interacting with other people and taking a chance on yourself and not being afraid to fail.
Love it.
Go for it.
I got the last question I got for you, David, man. Talked a lot, obviously, about your dad and the tremendous love and everything he's given you. Can you think of a quote that your dad has ever... He said a lot already.
Sure.
Is there one particular quote that your father has told you that has stuck with you to this day?
Oh, man.
Man, there's probably thousands running through your head.
Instead of a quote, I'll share with you something that I don't share with a lot of people, but I'll share this on this podcast with you guys and your listeners. When my father passed away, we spent a lot of time together. Probably about 10, 12 days. And I'm talking everything. I combed his hair. I brushed his teeth.
Yeah.
I gave him a shave.
Yeah, man.
I cleaned, changed his chonies, cleaned his stinkies.
Yeah.
Shower, bathe, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
It's your pops,
at the beginning of it, my father was mortified by it.
Yeah.
And he was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right? And he was barely 100 pounds. And I knew it was close, And so I picked him up out of his bed, and he told me, he's like, David, please, it hurts so bad. I was like, just relax, Dad. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I put him in this little wheelchair. The hospital bed had came, and we put it in the living room.
Yeah.
And he's like, please, David, please. And everything just hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing him in the wheelchair, and I stopped, and I said, Bésame. We started singing that song, Bésame mucho. One of my dad's favorite songs, right?
Oh,
and he's
awesome.
just like, he just belts it out.
Yeah.
And he's just da 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 da, and he's just singing it, and I'm carrying him, and I'm picking him up right from the wheelchair as we go across the house, and then we're just Bésame. My mom's watching us, and she's just bawling.
Yeah.
Right, and I pick him up from the wheelchair, and he looked at me. He looked at me in my face, in my eyes, and he put his left hand on my cheek, and he said to me, he goes, I am going to miss you. And he said, love. Just love, Dave.
Wow.
He goes,
That's incredible.
just love.
Yep.
Love as much as you can. So it was how my father lived.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is the greatest thing I'll carry. I come in here every day. I used to hate hearing the stories, especially after he died.
Yeah.
It hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But now I love him.
For
I
sure.
love him
Yeah.
because it keeps him alive.
Yeah, of course.
And to see his impact on people, it's astonishing to me because people have genuine, they almost get teary-eyed,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
I'm about to right now.
And I tell people the same thing every day.
Yeah.
He wasn't an icon to me. He wasn't a restaurateur. He was just my best friend.
There you go.
10 years old, man. I pretend like I was asleep. And Manny Lopez and Vivian Lopez come home from working God only knows how many hours.
Right.
It's 1 a.m. I sneak out of bed. I check to see my mom's asleep. She's asleep. I walk into the living room, TV room, and I slide that door open. And there's the king sitting there with his cigarette. Got a Budweiser. Ties down.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is your mom asleep? Yeah. All right, get in here. And I sit down, he'd give me a Coke. And he would always have peanuts, and he'd put the peanuts in the Coke for me.
I do that
Here, man,
now.
I'll do that. I put the peanuts in the Coke. And we're watching Cheech and Chong. I'm getting like education that I shouldn't get with Cheech and Chong. And we'd watch the Pink Panther and Eddie Murphy. My dad just loved it.
Yeah.
He loved it. And those are the things
great-
that I
That's awesome.
that I
Great
remember
Manny
the most.
Lopez,
Yeah,
man.
the great Manny Lopez.
Well, look, David, man, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, man, for taking time out, man. Taking time out and being a guest here, man, on Enterrupt KC,
That's right,
man.
It's my pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, David, man. We appreciate your time, man. And I couldn't think of a better way to end this podcast episode and talking about that story with your dad.
Oh, man, that's
Incredible.
awesome.
Rest
Incredible.
in peace, Manny Lopez, man. You said it best, a pillar of this community in Kansas City.
Yes.
Thank you for keeping his legacy alive, but creating your own with your own family, David.
Manny's
appreciate that
restaurant.
and all the
Appreciate that,
work you
guys.
do, man. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Just Interrupt KC, People, Places, and Things. JL, D-Rod.
Yes, sir.
Like, subscribe, follow, share.
Thank you very
Peace.
much. Thanks for watching.